Hello, everyone. From data to delivery, leveraging Kedro and anyLogistix for efficient supply chain management. So, I'll go over a little bit of the agenda. I'll go over who I am, problem statement that we were seeing in the field, and then a little bit of a spoiler. But we're going to be talking about Kedro today, Kedro and anyLogistix, and then I'll do a little bit of a demo at the end of the presentation. So, who am I? My name is Nicholas Geary. As Roman said, I'm a solutions owner or architect over here at SimWell. I have a background in industrial engineering, optimization, and simulation, specifically in the supply chain world. Over to the right is a picture from the hackathon that we put on at The Ohio State. We do a yearly hackathon using anyLogistix. Just wanted to always plug that when I get a chance. And fun fact about me, my dog's name is Bernie. That's a picture of Bernie. And since I have your attention with the picture of my dog, I am going to talk about SimWell. SimWell is a company that I work for, and we are your modeling technology partner. We specialize in optimization, simulation, digital twin, but we're also not afraid to get down and dirty with data engineering and building data science solutions. I'll have more about SimWell at the end of the presentation. And yeah, let's talk about a problem that we're seeing with new modeling teams. So, two of the biggest hurdles that we're seeing for new modeling teams. So, first hurdle is modeling's hard. We work in a field that we do, our model is if you can describe it, we can build it. And with modeling being hard, I don't know if anyone could guess the solution that we have found here, and that is anyLogistix. Um, anyLogistix makes it easy. As you guys heard for the last 5, 6 hours about all the different ways that you can utilize anyLogistix. But with the anyLogistix, we see a new modeling team go through the following process. So they'll usually attend training, they'll walk through some examples, and then they'll start reading the documentation. Um, and that gets a pretty good start. You're able to understand what the program does and how it's used and what it's used for. But in the words of Mike Tyson, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And the first punch that we usually see is the data is messy. You have different ERP systems, Excel sheets that get manually updated, different databases here and there. And for a solution, spoiler in the title, unfortunately. But I'm going to introduce everyone to I'm going to introduce everyone to Kedro. Kedro, the purpose of it is to design, creating reproducible, maintainable, modular code. A little bit of background about Kedro. It was developed by Quantum Black, which is a McKinsey company back in 2019. The name actually comes from the Greek word center or core, and Kedro is essential open source software for productionalizing advanced analytics projects. And today, that is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk all about Kedro, go through some of their key components, the benefits, and run through an example demo. So what are some of the benefits for using Kedro? Kedro, first thing is the consistency. So it enforces a standardized structure, making a core code base more organized and easier to manage. The modularity, I'll get into what the true benefits are of the modularity, but basically it breaks the process down into nodes and pipelines, allowing functions to be easily reused across your modeling process. Second is scalability. Kedro is a Python library. So with that, you have all the benefits of using Python. So you can use different data types and scaling solutions. Collaboration, Git support, and version control. We've talked about other solutions, no-code solutions in the past, and the biggest thing is always understanding versioning control and being able to use a tool like Git to be able to work across team members. And the last bit here is Kedro Viz. Kedro Viz, I'll dig into near the end of the presentation, but it basically shows how everything is connected. You go from your raw data source all the way to your final anyLogistix model, and you can see how everything interacts. So Why use Kedro and anyLogistix? As everyone knows here, anyLogistix uses a standard template for inputs and outputs, and that is perfect for a solution like Kedro, where we can create repeatable and modular pipelines going from raw data all the way to that model. And then one thing that we see at SimWell working with different clients is the Kedro Viz, being able to show all the different steps, how all the different data is manipulated, and where different data sets touch each other to get to that final anyLogistix model. We find that extremely valuable when it's talking about, hey, creating a repeatable modular process. So I'm going to introduce you guys to a handful of Kedro framework components now. Gives a good structure about what we're going to talk about in the demo. So the four main components here of Kedro, at least for beginners, just getting your foot in the door, is data category, nodes, pipelines, and notebooks. So data catalog here is just a consistent way of how to store and parse data. I'll go into that a little bit more. You have your nodes, which are essentially the different functions of your data cleaning process. You have pipelines to connect the nodes to each other, to connect the inputs and the outputs. And Kedro, as you guys have seen throughout most of these presentations today, everyone just building their models in different Jupyter notebooks. Kedro has native support for using Jupyter notebooks as well. So now I've talked about Kedro for enough time. Why don't we actually see it? So as you can see here, for those who are not familiar with VS Code, we have a file system over here on the right. Over here, we have our code base. So as you see, I'll take a stab at the file system real quick. And when I'm talking about consistency and one of the true benefits, it's all your code is structured in the same way. That way you don't just have a million different Jupyter notebooks. Everything is broken down into these pipelines and nodes. So as you can see here, I'm in processes of breaking down this demo data, and they're built into nodes and pipelines. And being able to have something that consistent across the board makes it a lot easier to collaborate with others. Another side benefit here that I didn't add into that initial slide is Python testing that you can do. So you can natively test your code within Kedro. It'll run through the process and do all those steps for you to make sure you're getting the specific data types in and out of it. As anyone who's built models in the past, understanding the icon data needs to be an int at this level, or let's just say the historical baseline needs to have a very specific data format for that date. Kedro allows you to add testing in there. That way, when you get to that final model, you're able to just import that right into ALX and run the model and go from there. So what we're looking at here is the first, the first piece that I talked about earlier, and this is the data catalog. As you can see here, I have a bunch of different data sets, all in Excel right now, but you can use anything from connecting these directly to a database, using an ODBC connection, so on and so forth. So this is just a catalog. It shows all the different data types we have here. It's all in a consistent array to be used into our nodes. Our nodes, as I mentioned earlier, are just the different functions. So I pulled up how to format this final data set here. So I'm formatting the customer data in this node, where I'm taking in customer pandas data frame and doing all the, adding the additional columns that you need to have in anyLogistix to be able to build our customers table. As you can see here, I'm merging some ports and DCs, and then I'm formatting those DCs and factories into the final factories table. But how do I connect these nodes all together to make it all work? And that is where pipelines come in. Pipelines, you declare your inputs, you name your outputs, and then you're able to name whatever you want to call this specific node in the pipeline. You have your different nodes up here that you import in directly from the other file, and you can use them in your functions area. On top of that, like I mentioned before, there is native Jupyter Notebook support where you could actually go into your catalog itself. You load your specific data set right here, and you're able to, do kind of your playing around in the data sets before you build out your actual nodes and pipelines to connect everything together. So using Kedro and, in reality, so all you have to do here is when you have all your nodes and your pipeline set, you have your data log all set. All you do here is go to your terminal, type in Kedro run, and you'll be able to see all the different nodes connecting together and see all the tasks as they complete. So I'm initializing here. This is a very simple demo model, so it takes seconds to run. But if you could see here, we could watch it go through all the different steps. And if you ever get into a situation where you need to worry about troubleshooting, you can understand at what point in the process. So if you can see here, I'm 15 of 20 tasks completed. And that is an example of customer product orders. So the next thing I'm going to show off here is really the biggest factor in us choosing to use a tool like Kedro. That is Kedro Viz. So this is Kedro Viz. This is, like I said, one of the main reasons why we're using this tool. Kedro Viz here allows you to visualize all the different steps that you did with your data. As you can see here, I added custom tags here where I have all my raw data here on top. The second layer is how I loaded in all my data using just an extract function. We have a section here for our primary analysis. We built out our anyLogistix tables, and as you can all see, they all form down to my anyLogistix final model. From there, over to the left, we have a list of just all the different functions that we used to create this model. You could have a search functionality just to see, like, okay, where do all these numbers connect? Down here, also, you have your nodes and databases to filter. So if I just wanted to see all the different functions that I use to create this set, I could do that. Or if I just want to see how the data is all filling and where those data sets go to, I can do that as well, just to make it a little bit simpler. But truly, one of my favorite parts here is how you can do your traceability of where everything is touching and how it's touching. So if I go to an instance where I'm looking at my historical baseline, so I clicked on my bottom table here, it's listed ALX historical demand, and I could see all the different steps that it took to get there. So, the way we built it from the top to the bottom, we took our shipping data and our customer list. We then joined them together to create our giant customer demand table. When I do that, I'm clicking on this function here, symbolized with the F, and I can go up here to show code to show how did I actually create that, what function is actually in there to create that nice data set. So as you can see here, basically I'm just merging using pandas to take that customer, merge on destination, on right customer, and doing an inner join to produce my customer list. And then I'm aggregating to order amount, because again, I'm looking for my customer demand. And being able to see that and show a client step by step, or using that as like an internal tool, showing them step by step how you can look how every piece of this data is all manipulated, really just shows like unlimited value in figuring out how to build your final set of models. So going off of that now, we can see here that, we are building our customer demand, splitting it into our final two tables, and then joining everything together to our final anyLogistix model. So that is Kedro Viz in a very quick 15-minute nutshell. I'd love to answer any sort of questions around Kedro Viz. So before I finish off everything, if you guys want to start adding stuff into the Q&A section, I'd love to answer any remaining questions about how we can use this tool and where we look at it in the future. So with Kedro and with the new tools like the API that the anyLogistix team just showed, we could really get to a point of everything building together and almost making a solution right from raw data all the way to a model without even touching any of the modeling pieces before we go to run a model. And that's kind of what we're looking for in the future. Being at SimWell, we also have a list of people here. If you guys are interested in learning more about how to implement a tool like Kedro or any other modeling needs, feel free to reach out to myself, Steve, or Cedro. Feel free to take a screenshot here on the page, or I know they're in the chat answering questions. But yeah, Any questions around Kedro and the tool itself or how we have used it in the past? Actually, I see a question from William Schultz here. Hi, Nicholas.
Yeah,
Exciting presentation. I have two questions. First, could you share any details about the hackathon at OSU? Second, with the recent release of the API support of ALX, how do you envision Kedro integrating this with development? Yeah, so I did preview that a little bit here. So for the piece about OSU, we have a blog on our website now. I'll share that in the chat for everyone outside of this. But yeah, our OSU hackathon is great. We've worked with up to like 40 students, teaching them overnight anyLogistix and having them solve problems. In the future, we plan to introduce a tool like Kedro to them to, really get them working with data and getting their hands dirty with it. Second, with the release of the API support, so I touched on this a little bit, but the plan is being able to use Kedro as our, dedicated almost front end ETL tool, going right to a point of dropping models into a database and having different Python tools or different tools in general picking the Python API or the Java API, picking up those models, directly importing them into anyLogistix, running the model, and then grabbing them on the output, doing some more Kedro, probably cleaning up the results, and then bringing them right into a tool like Power BI or a custom dash dashboard or so on and so forth. Well, thank you, William, for that question. I'm looking at the other questions in the Q&A. Oh man, I'm really going to butcher this name, but Gleb.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
My apologies. My apologies. I like I said, I'm gonna butcher your name. My apologies. So Nicholas, did you use Kedro to automate the data conversion between optimization and simulation experiments? Any tips on how to match these diverse approaches? So we haven't done anything truly to go from an optimization to simulation. anyLogistix built in natively has a tool that will bring an optimization result or any optimization model to simulation for you. On top of that, you can add. Oh, sorry, I was seeing the questions go away. On top of that, you can use Kedro to build not only an optimization model, but you can build a simulation model and make stuff as dynamic as possible in that primary analysis field in Kedro Viz, like I mentioned. You can build in functions and do all your data science directly in there to come up with your different distributions for your simulations, and have all that stuff already done and then pumped right into your anyLogistix model. Ready.
thank you, Nicholas, for this really extremely, I would say, helpful information for our audience for the future project. So because it's always good to have everything in the data like separated to have it and on its own shelf, right? And like how much this saves your time when you're like moving from one project to another. So is it reusable things from Kedro you can utilize for the various projects?
Oh yeah, the modularity and touching on the nodes and the different pipelines. As everyone knows, there's just template tables in anyLogistix to where you could just, grab the, always include, always exclude, different types of columns
Mm-hmm.
there. We could reuse those nodes to any project going forward as long as it has a similar data structure. So example, like the customers table, the DCs and factories table, we can take all those together and reuse them between projects.
Yeah, I also like this visibility of the data, so it's like looks like a magic. And
Oh yeah, it's complete magic.
yeah, and in our support practice now we can suggest it to our new users. So we have like one more tool in our pocket to suggest our like anyLogistix community. So
Exactly. And here at SimWell, we're always willing to help, always willing to, start from the ground roots, get your raw data all together, get it all mapped out, and start building models.